Drama taking the focus off of little Kyron here, taking your questions and comments. 877-TELL-HLN. Joining me now, HLN law enforcement analyst Mike Brooks. Also joining us tonight, criminal defense attorney B.J. Bernstein. Great to see you both. Mike, let me start with you with something that was said by Desiree, where she talked about, hey, she might not have done this alone. Should we be looking for more than one person here?
Well, that's always a possibility. And Vinny, I thought it was interesting, the dynamic between the two, looking at each other before they said that. You know, has law enforcement told them additional information? Because we know that they gave Kane Horman the information of which he filed that restraining order that she had been involved in a murder-for-hire plot. What else do they know that they're not saying?
B.J. Bernstein, 2 polygraphs supposedly failed by not the suspect, but by the stepmom. They're still not calling her a suspect. What do you read into that?
Well, I think what's really telling is not so much just the flunking of the polygraph. It is what the father just said in that interview with Nancy Grace's producer, that the behavior between polygraphs got strange, and he was strangely silent about it. And it kind of fits what the family seems to be doing now, possibly at the direction of law enforcement, which is going very public and putting pressure on Terry Horman to come and tell the truth. Because as you recall, the beginning of the story, we're all focused on where is Kyron? It couldn't be a family, it's a stranger. And now they're having to shift the focus to a family member. And since she didn't just tell the truth after these polygraphs, the question becomes, will this public pressure, you know, get her to come on out with, if she knows what really happened to the child?
And that's the big question, if she knows, because she's not been named a suspect, no one's been arrested. Mike Brooks, how do you get to that next point from where we are now? If you believe that she has information, how do you get her to come forward?
Well, Mike, it's going to, I mean, Vinny, there to go again. It's going to be difficult because she's lawyered up. And that first polygraph, Vinny, she walked out on the first polygraph. She didn't just fail it, she walked out on it. So that's why they gave her a second polygraph. Did she fail that one?
Let me interrupt you just for a second, because you said she lawyered up. B.J. Bernstein, let me bring you in here. You're a lawyer, you represent people. If, in fact, you're representing someone who is guilty and has done something, is there ever a point where you can convince that person to turn themselves in? Or do you sit and wait until evidence is brought against your client?
It really is a case-by-case basis, but one of the things here is if in fact there's a belief that the child is alive somewhere, then telling the family where the child is or what's happening may be a way of going ahead and pre-brokering a deal, knowing that you have a client that's guilty. And so that's, you know, one of the dilemmas for the attorney, but it's not up the attorney to convince. In the end, it is up to the individual defendant, which is why I think we're seeing such a very public push by the natural mother and father.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, B.J. Mike Brooks. Now, this next one, unbelievable. A 31-year-old woman poses as a 14-year-old boy. Why? To try to seduce a teenage girl. She even met the victim's parents. Police in Ohio say a 31-year-old woman even had them convinced that she was a 14-year-old boy. They arrested her for allegedly impersonating a boy to seduce a 16-year-old girl.
If I didn't know, I wouldn't have questioned it either. She could pass for a 14, 15, 16-year-old boy.
The police report lists her as 4'11". Detectives say she had a Facebook page under the name Matthew Abrams, and they're concerned that there could be more victims. Joining me now, clinical psychologist Paula Bloom and criminal defense attorney B.J. Bernstein. B.J., also a former sex crimes prosecutor. Let me start with you, Paula. What's going on here? A 31-year-old woman decides to be a 14-year-old boy to seduce a 16-year-old girl. What's really going on here?
Well, if we take away the whole idea that this is an adult and a child, okay, because let's just remove that from the equation for a little bit. You know, a lot of times, we got a few different things going on here. We've got our sex, we've got our gender. Our sex is what our biology is, right? What our genitals are, what our hormones are.
And her sex is woman, 31-year-old woman.
Right. Our gender is how we behave, how we feel about ourselves, the way we act in the world. And a lot of times, these things, I shouldn't say a lot of times, some of the time, these things don't match up. And so a lot of times you can walk around looking one way and absolutely feeling like you're something else. This is when people end up having like gender reassignment surgery. They're struggling with these things.
But the problem here, BJ, is that she's not going out trying to date people, number one, that know, or people that are her own age. She's pretending to be a teenager and going after a 16-year-old girl.
Exactly, and in this way, it is like any other sexual predator who portrays themselves differently of opposite gender and tries to meet a young person lying about their age and trying to meet them out in public and then go ahead and molest them.
All right, let's see what the folks at home think. We go to Diana, who's in Washington State tonight. Diana, what do you think about this case?
Hi, it's great to talk to you. You know, I'm appalled at this, and I think that this woman or whatever should be thrown away and locked up with the key. Does she have any kids of her own?
No, we don't think she has any kids of her own. She lives at home. As a matter of fact, her father said, and I want you to talk about this, Paul, her father said that he believes that the victim knew the defendant was a girl or a woman in this case. Do you think there's other victims out there? Is that possible?
You know, I say this all the time. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So I really don't know in this case.
All right, BJ, what do we do here? There's a lot of issues you got to deal with. This is someone who should be registered as a sex offender. From my perspective, you know, this is someone who is preying upon a child, despite the fact that she may be confused about her identity and every other issue that she has going on here. At the end of the day, her neighbors should know that she's around.
And if there's a conviction, then that will likely happen, and that will be clearly done. Because what the concern here, as you just mentioned, is the fact of the Facebook component. And again, this is a reminder to parents about why you have to try to have some sort of parental control and watch what Facebook pages your kids are on. And if it's not someone that you know their parents, you've got to ask more
well, it's
questions.
really interesting here, Paul, is the parents of the victim, they got fooled also. Everybody was fooled here.
You know, it's not that difficult. I mean, you look at that picture, and I would absolutely believe that that was a 14 or 15-year-old boy. You know, when somebody has the intention of really deceiving, they can deceive pretty much anyone.
Paula Bloom, BJ Bernstein, thanks so much. Have a fantastic weekend. Now, you probably heard